morning. Today we will discuss univariate statistical topic estimation. Estimation comes under univariate statistics. Today's content is, we will start with what is estimation, then I will tell you the different types of estimation, like for single population mean, for single population variance, confidence interval for the difference between two population means, confidence interval for the ratio of two population means, followed by references. Now, if you see this slide, estimation has two parts. One is point estimation, another one is interval estimation. Interval estimation. So, under point estimation, we will be discussing about that point estimation of mean and point estimation of standard deviation, or we can say that point estimation of variance, that is the square of standard deviation, that we will be discussing. And under interval estimation, here we will be discussing for first for single population, that is confidence interval for mean, confidence interval for mean and confidence interval for variance. And we also discussed today that interval estimation for difference of means between two populations. Here also difference CI or confidence interval for difference of means between two population, and ratio of confidence interval for the ratio of two population variances. Two population variances. Okay. Essentially, what will happen here, ultimately you will find out when you talk about the interval estimation, the entire logic, the logic remains same whether we will go for the single population or two population, and the difference you will find in the little bit in the computation. So, if you have n observations x1, x2 like this xn n observation, all of you know that the mean, the estimate of mean is the average of the sample data. So, if I say x bar is an estimate of mu, then that you all know that this is I equal to 1 to n xi. So, what we say that x bar is the estimate of population mean. Similarly, we will calculate variance, sample variance, which we say that the estimate of population variance, which will be n minus 1 sum total of I equal to 1 to n xi minus x bar square. When you compute like this, that you collect a sample and compute x bar as well as s square from the sample, this is your point estimate. So, x bar is the point estimate of mu, s square is the point estimate of sigma square. Now, as we have discussed in last class, that what will happen when I go for several samples collected from a population. I told you in the last class, this is my population, and if I go for several sample collected. So, for example, you have collected sample 1, sample 2, then sample n, all of the samples with size n1, size n, equal sample size n, and here also n, and if you calculate the point estimate, that will be x1 bar, x2 bar, like this xn bar, and we have seen that this x bar, if I write in this vector form, that x1 bar, x2 bar, like xn bar. So, this follow certain distribution. Last class we have seen this follow certain distribution. So, if x bar follows certain distribution, now you are collecting one sample and computing x bar, what is the guarantee that the computed x bar will be representing the population mean? Okay. So, we want to have certain amount of confidence in our estimate. So, that confidence is known as confidence interval. By confidence interval, what do we mean? We mean that suppose the distribution of x bar is like this, is my PDF of x bar, and all of us know now that expected value of x bar will be mu, because this is the property of unbiased estimation. So, then your mu is coming here. Now, let us talk about the sample 1, and you have computed x bar using sample 1, and it is falling here. The value of x1 bar is falling here. So, what is our interest here using confidence interval? We want to know that whether this x1 bar or the x bar collected using sample 1 is representative of mu or not. It all depends on the distance between these two. If x bar is far away from mu, then it will not be a representative one. Okay. So, in order to know whether the x bar contains the interval of x bar contains mu or not, we will go for first identifying the what is the distribution, sampling distribution that is applicable, and using this sampling distribution you will generate a interval, and we want to find interval for mu, that is the population mean, and we want to find out that whether that interval contains the mu or not. Now, come back to the slide here. What will happen ultimately? Population can be normal and non-normal. Now, if you sample from normal population with sigma known and sample size whether small or large, that is not a problem, not a question issue at all, then you will follow Z distribution. The what quantity will follow Z distribution I will discuss, but you please remember that if your population is normal and sigma is known irrespective of the sample size, the statistics will generate for x bar which is basically Z equal to x bar minus expected value of x bar by sigma x bar. This quantity follows, that is this x bar minus expected value of x bar by sigma x bar follows Z distribution. If you sample from normal population irrespective of the sample size, but sigma must be known. If sigma is unknown, your sample size is large, then this quantity follows again Z distribution. But if sigma that sample size is small and sigma is unknown, then this quantity follows T distribution. Now, if you sample from non-normal population when sigma is known and your sample size is large, then this quantity again the same quantity, this quantity follows Z distribution. Even if sigma is unknown also, but sample size is large, that is again Z, but other two cases when sample size is less than 30, that is the small sample size, then no parametric distribution possible. Okay. So, whether you will use T or Z distribution, the mathematics and the procedures remain same, only you have to use Z table or T table. Let us see here what way you can calculate the confidence interval. You see what we have said. First you collect data, then find out the statistic what you want to compute, that is the estimate of mean population mean is x bar, estimate of population standard deviation is s. Then you choose a particular alpha value, and we know that probability that this quantity what the statistics what we generated, that x bar minus expected value of x bar divided by sigma x bar, this one probability that this value will be greater than L and less than or greater than equal to L and less than equal to u, that will be 1 minus alpha. Okay. So, if your distribution, this one is nothing but Z, that L less than equal to Z less than equal to u, when some of the conditions satisfied, like from normal population irrespective of sample size sigma is known, then what we will write basically, we will write Z equal to x bar minus mu by sigma by root n. So, sigma x bar is sigma by root n, we have seen in the last class, and expected value of x bar is this. Okay. So, essentially what you can write, that this is normally distributed unit normal distribution, this is my unit normal distribution, and there is one value which is the lower value we are expecting considering, another one is the upper value we are considering, and what we are saying, that probability that this Z value lies in between L and u, and that is the confidence interval which is 100 into 1 minus alpha percent C I. What is this alpha? How do you determine this alpha? Alpha is known as significance level, significance level. Okay. This alpha, when our this that x bar minus mu sigma by root n, that is Z distributed, it is a two-tailed case. So, left hand side and right hand side will be, that probability value will be equally divided. So, the hatchet portion here is alpha by 2, here is alpha by 2. So, level of significance or significance level alpha, what it indicates? It indicates that if I consider that L to u, that is the confidence interval, then what is the error you are consuming? That error is alpha. What is this error? That probability that the true mean lies in this hatchet portion, that is basically alpha percent probability. Okay. So, now how do we get this value, this L and u? What will be L and u? It all depends on what will be your alpha. If we consider alpha equal to 0.05, then alpha by 2 is 0.025. So, what you require to know now, then you have to find out this Z alpha by 2, this is your Z alpha by 2, and this left hand side this value will be minus Z alpha by 2. So, you see the table and find out Z alpha by 2 value, and accordingly you compute. So, then mathematically what is happening here? Mathematically is my L is minus Z alpha by 2, and this will be less than equal to x bar minus mu by sigma by root n, that equal to plus Z alpha by 2. Now, if you rearrange this one, what you are getting? Z alpha by 2 sigma by root n less than equal to x bar minus mu less than equal to Z alpha by 2 sigma by root n. Then again we will manipulate this. So, I will just bring that, because we are looking for confidence interval of mu. So, what we do, we basically separate, we will take x bar out from this the middle portion. Then if I write again, I will write like this, minus x bar minus z alpha by 2 sigma by root n, this is less than equal to minus mu less than equal to minus x bar plus z alpha by 2 sigma by root n. Correct? Very simple manipulation. You are just now taking out x bar from the middle portion, putting to the left and right hand side. Then if you little modify now, we do not want minus mu, we want plus mu. So, you are multiplying it by minus 1, then it will just the reverse will take place. What will happen? X bar minus z alpha by 2 sigma by root n less than equal to mu less than equal to x bar plus z alpha by 2 sigma by root n. So, this formula is applicable when you, this is the confidence interval, this is the confidence interval for mu 100 into 1 minus alpha percent C I for mu, correct. So, when you talk about confidence interval, it is definitely for the population parameter, not for the sample statistic. Getting me? The essence, once I know this one, what will happen ultimately? If you know this, then how do I know that whether this mu basically content this within this, in this interval mu is content or not? That how do you know? Because if it is basically the z value, I think let us go for a problem first, then suppose this is our problem. This is a problem. What is this? Musculoskeletal disorder is a serious problem of crane operators in heavy industries, MSD. In a survey to assess crane operators MSD, approximately how many times in a month an operator suffer from body pain was asked. Basically, they were asked that this is the measure of one of the measure of MSD, crude measure of MSD, that how many times in a month suffer from body pain. A random sample of 76 responses yielded a mean of 7. So, what is our problem here? We have collected n equal to 76, you have computed x bar which is 7 and standard deviation, that is s equal to 4. Let the population standard deviation is given 3, that is sigma equal to 3, constructs 95% confidence interval for x bar. Your work is construct 95% CI for x bar. This is your work. Now, see, when I say 95%, that means we are saying that 100 into 1 minus alpha equal to 95. So, you are getting alpha equal to 0.05. So, what is my alpha by 2? 0.025. Now, here it is clearly given that sigma is 3, that population standard deviation is known, and we are assuming that the sample has come from the normal distribution, population distribution is normal, then this is normal. So, you see that this is normal, assume normal distribution. Then what we will use? We will z distribution, and accordingly our interval will be x bar minus z alpha by 2 sigma by root n less than equal to mu less than equal to x bar plus z alpha by 2 sigma by root n. Every values are known to you. So, your computation will be x bar will be 7, you have to know z 0.025 into sigma is population sigma is 3 and your n is 76. So, less than equal to mu less than equal to 7 plus z 0.025 into 3 by root over 76. All of you know that z 0.025, if you see table, it is 1.96. So, I can write further that our interval is 7 minus 1.96 3 by root of 76 less than equal to mu less than equal to 7 plus 1.96 3 by root 76, and the answer will be 6.33 less than equal to mu less than equal to 7.67. This is the confidence interval for mu. So, that means essentially what you are getting, you are not getting a point estimate only here, you are getting an interval estimate. Point estimate says mu estimate is 7, interval estimate says it is not 7, it is in between 6.33 to 7.76. So, it is 6.33 to 7.67. That is the difference between your point estimation and interval estimation, or point estimate of mu and interval estimate of mu. What is, how do you know that whether this one contain the mu, true mu? Now, see, when we convert the statistic, that x bar to equivalent z by subtracting its mean and dividing it by its standard deviation. So, what is the mean of z? 0, it is 0. Now, here what is you are getting the interval 6.33 minus 7.67. Okay. So, can you find out some meaning of that? If I convert into Z0 and you are getting, when you are again translating back to the mu term, what will happen ultimately? See, you are getting both positive, left hand, that 6.33 is also positive and 7.76 is also positive. Okay. You think next class I want to say that how do I know, my question to you, that how do I know that this interval contains the mean or not. Last class I also last part 1 population mean. Last part 1 class I have given you one similar question also, but I have not asked. This is one question we will discuss, but you must remind me next class, because I am giving you in such with a belief that you will go through the book. Now, next question here is, what will happen if population standard deviation is not known? You will use S, that sigma square will be S square, population standard deviation is known, not known, means sigma square estimate, that is what we are saying S square. So, you will be using S square. Now, here sample size is 76, it is a large sample because it is greater than 30. So, you can still use the Z distribution, but your change will be here. What will be your change? You will be using the same Z distribution, but instead of sigma you are using S. You see, in the given problem sigma and S are not same. So, S equal to 4, sigma equal to 3. So, you will replace everything, this will be by 4 by this and this will be 4 by this. So, ultimately what will happen, this resultant quantity will be bigger than the earlier one and it will the interval will increase. Okay. So, if you compute this, you will be finding out the interval will increase. Now, another question here is that what will happen if population standard deviation is not known and sample size in less than 30. So, you cannot use Z distribution. What is required? Now, your case is going like this, you will be using T distribution, which is x bar minus mu by S by root n. You will be using T distribution. Why? The reason is n is less than 30. Please keep in mind, when you sample from normal population with sigma, population variance is known, irrespective of your sample size, you will use Z distribution. Population variance is not known, but sample size is large, you will use Z distribution. Population variance is not known, sample size is small, but you are sampling from normal distribution, that is T you have to use. See, rest of the things are same. Now, in case of T, I told you earlier that there will be degrees of freedom for T distribution. In this case, this will be n minus 1 degrees of freedom. So, let us see the T distribution. So, this one I have shown you. So, T distribution I have not kept here. Okay. So, you have to use T distribution. You are getting me? What is required then? Your interval will be like this: x bar minus T n minus 1 alpha by 2, because T distribution also two tail distribution it is. Your mean value is 0 and this side it is that two extremes, negative to positive, that minus infinity plus infinite. Now, then S by root n less than equal to mu less than equal to x bar plus T n minus 1 alpha by 2 S by root n. The same problem, if you collect observations which is less than 30, as well as your population variance is not known, you use T distribution and then find out what is this n value, and then and what is alpha value, and accordingly you find out the T n minus 1 alpha by 2 value and put into this formula. You will be getting the confidence interval for mean, population mean. Okay. I repeat that always confidence interval for the population parameter. Okay. So, same thing can be applied to population variance also, but in case of population variance your distribution will be different. What is happening here in population variance? Population variance means sigma square. What you want? You have a sample is collected and a square is calculated, a sample standard variance is computed, your n is the sample size. So, what you require to know? You require to know a confidence interval based on this sample data. You want to know the confidence interval for this. Again, what you want? What will be the, you got this S square value, but what is the lower value and what is the upper value? Similar manner you have to find out. So, that means if I know the distribution, I can say this is, what is this? This is 1 minus alpha. In true sense you want to do like this, that is what you want basically. But you have your this value, what is the computed statistic value is A square, and we have seen under sampling distribution that A square, it is not A square, it is n minus 1 A square by sigma square follows with distribution chi-square distribution. What will be the degrees of freedom? N minus 1. So, n minus 1 degree. So, you know chi-square distribution, because we have seen chi-square distribution depending on degrees of freedom, it will be of different shape. One may be this is the chi-square distribution. What you and this one is the PDF of chi-square, which is basically in this case n minus 1 A square by sigma square, and you want to find out the upper value, that is u, and a lower value, that is L, for n minus 1 S square by sigma square. So, again if I consider alpha, that this one is basically this particular this side, it is, let it be that alpha by 2, and this one what will happen, total is 1 minus alpha by 2. You will be getting chi square 1 minus alpha by 2, but please keep in mind chi square also having a degree of freedom, that is alpha by 2, and degree of freedom is what, n minus 1, n minus 1. Getting me? So, then what you will write then? You will write n minus 1 a square by sigma square, it must be less than equal to chi square alpha by 2 n minus 1, as well as it must be greater than equal to chi square 1 minus alpha by 2 n minus 1. You see these two, this is the left from the interval point of view, this, and this totality in between whatever it is there, that is what is our 100 into 1 minus alpha percent Ci for the variance. This is my 100 1 minus alpha percent of this one. But what you want here in this equation, what you want? You want something like this, something like L less than equal to sigma square less than equal to U. Can you now find out that what will be, can you not manipulate this? You can easily manipulate. So, what will be the, once you manipulate this, that means what will happen, you want to keep in between the less than equal to terms only the sigma square. So, if you manipulate, you will be getting like this, n minus 1 a square by chi square alpha by 2 n minus 1. You will get this, yes, alpha by 2 n minus 1 less than equal to sigma square less than equal to n minus 1 a square by chi square alpha by 1 minus alpha by 2 n minus 1. You see the, here you see the denominator here is n minus 1 into a square, here also n minus 1 into a square, same quantity. The difference is in the in the numerator both are like n minus 1 into a square, but in the denominator, that is x square chi square alpha by 2 n minus 1. What value is this? This is this value, and in the right hand side this value is other one, and you can find out that this is the chi square axis. So, definitely this value is less than this value. So, that means n minus 1 a square by chi square alpha by 2 n minus 1 is definitely less than n minus 1 a square by chi square 1 minus alpha by 2 n minus n, and that is the interval. Okay. Now, given data, what you will do? Suppose this is the data, can you not compute? Can you not compute this? A company manufactures worm wheels for worm gears. One of the critical to quality variable is hardness, which is normally distributed. The quality control engineer wants to control its variability. A random sample of 30 worm wheels are tested that yielded mean hardness of 100, which is measured basically in Brinell hardness number, with standard deviation of 5. Develop 90% confidence interval for the population sigma. What you will do? You all, what is n value here? N equal to 30. Okay. What is a square? Population, that means you have collected a sample of 30 with standard deviation of 5. So, that means this is 5 square, correct. Then what more you want? You want nothing, only one thing you want to know, that is what is alpha. So, we are saying 90% confidence interval. So, alpha equal to 0.1, that is 1 minus 0.9, that means 0.10. So, your alpha by 2 is 0.05. You want to calculate chi square, two values, chi square alpha by 2 n minus 1 where n is 30, that is 29, and alpha is your that alpha by 2 is 0.05, that is chi square 0.05 29 you require to get, as well as one more value you want to know, that is chi square 1 minus alpha by 2 with again same n minus 1. So, that means chi square 0.95 29. If you know these two value, then put into this equation. A square is known 25, n minus 1 is 29, chi square that is 0.0529, chi square 0.9529. You have to find out the chi square value, see the table. You see this table, that in this table our alpha value is alpha by 2 is 0.05. So, we want to first know that chi square, our degree of freedom is 29, and what is this value? That value is 42.50. Okay. So, chi square our 29 0.05, which one is this? Chi square 29 0.05, that is 42.56. Similarly, chi square that 99 that is 17.71. So, once you know these two values 17.71 and these values you know, so your computation is becomes very simple. N minus 1 that is 29 into a square is 25 divided by chi square that one, that means 42.56 less than equal to sigma square less than equal to 29 into 25 by 17.71 using the formula. Then what is the result? Ultimate result will be like this. So, you will be getting 17.03 less than equal to sigma square less than equal to 40.94. And if you go by sigma then square root of this 4.13 less than equal to sigma less than equal to 6.40. That is what is interval estimation. So, if you really want to know how to go about interval estimation, please keep in mind you must know the statistic. You are interested to know the interval estimation for a population parameter. Okay. First you know the population parameter, you must know the corresponding sample statistic. You also know that what will be the basically the statistics for which you want to develop the sampling distribution. If it is x bar, then you are converting into z or t. If it is your sigma square, then you are converting into appropriate statistic n minus 1 a square by sigma square, which follows chi square distribution. So, unless you do not know the distribution as well as the statistics required, you cannot go about interval estimation. And what is the advantage of interval estimation? As I told you, instead of a point estimate, you are getting an interval. And what do you mean? That 95% case the mean value will lie within this interval. For example, in this example variance case, what we are saying, the variance or standard deviation whatever you consider, suppose variance case 95%, 90% of the cases this sigma value will lie basically 95% we are confident that sigma value, population sigma square value is in between this, somewhere it is there.
Sir, logically point estimation value always be in the
inside the interval. Basically, if you want to understand that fast that interval estimation, what is the meaning of this? Suppose there is a population parameter theta and you have estimated theta cap using some sampling distribution. Okay. Now, let the theta cap has a particular distribution. Okay. Then what you are doing? You are basically doing like this, less than equal to theta less than equal to u, that you are doing. that you are doing, which is 1 minus alpha, using the theta cap value, that range you are getting theta cap value. Now, let us consider the theta is mu, that is the mean value, there theta is the mu. Suppose you have collected a sample with n size and you have computed the x bar and you found out that x bar interval is like this. This is your sample 1 and your x 1 bar, its interval you found out, because once you collect a sample, you know x bar, you can calculate the interval. Now, second one suppose like this, third one suppose like this, fourth one like this, suppose fifth one is like this, suppose sixth one is like this, seventh one, eighth one like this. Let all others, suppose you have collected 20 samples of size n and you computed, you found out that this is the true mean. Hypothetically, we are assuming this is my true mean and 19 sample contain this mean, because the interval contain this means. This is the constant value, that mean. Now, first sample the interval contain mean, second sample contain mean, but third one no. So, out of 20, 19 contain mean. So, that means it is 95%. That is the message. That means what we are saying, when you collect a sample, it does not mean that content mean, but you are getting an interval. But the total method is such that it says that there is 95% chance that it will contain the mean. It may not contain, that chance is 5%. That is why we are saying confidence interval. Actually, you will not go for 20 samples, but that if you find like this, that is the case. Okay. Then chi-square, we have seen this, then confidence interval for two population, difference between two population mean. What you will do here? See, the entire procedure remains same. Only you have to know what is the random variable, what is the statistic and what is the distribution, sampling distribution. If you know, then your work is over. For example, you are now creating one variable here. Suppose you want the difference between two population means. This is my difference between two population means. If your population 1 is having the mu 1 mean and population 2 mean is mu 2, you want to find a confidence interval for this. What will be the L and U value for which your probability that the interval contains mu 1 minus mu 2 is 1 minus alpha. Getting me? So, that is the issue. So, if this is the case, then what is at your hand? You have only x 1 bar for the population 1, that mean 1, and for this you have x 2 bar, and you have also the difference between x 1 bar and x 2 bar. We have seen earlier that x 1 in any statistics is a random variable. Now, difference between the statistics also a random variable. That means you want to know what is the mean value of x 1 bar minus x 2 bar and standard deviation of x 1 bar x 2 bar. So, you compute mean value, expected value of x 1 bar minus x 2 bar, this is expected value of x 1 bar minus expected value of x 2 bar, and see they are coming from two populations, they are independent. So, and we know that from unbiased estimation point of view, what is the expected value of x bar, sweetie? Mu. So, that means this will be mu 1 minus mu 2. Now, what is the variance component, variance of x 1 bar minus x 2 bar? If I write that, as we are considering independence, v 1 bar minus v 2 bar x 2 bar, it should be plus, not minus. Why? the variability between the two, when you are making difference, this variability is the square term, it is always you are adding basically, it is additive. So, now what is the variability of x 1 bar? We all know that is sigma 1 square by n 1 if the sample size is no variance, this is not, this is variance. So, plus sigma 2 square by n 2. By saying this, what I am saying? I am saying that you have collected n 1 size sample from population 1, this is the sample size from collected from population 1 and second one is collected from population 2. So, that means I now know my random variable is x 1 bar minus x 2 bar, and I know that its expected value or mean value is mu 1 minus mu 2, and from theory also I know its variance is this. So, that means what I am trying to say that mu of x 1 bar minus x 2 bar, it is nothing but mu 1 minus mu 2. Similarly, sigma square of x 1 bar minus x 2 bar is nothing but sigma 1 square by n 1 plus sigma 2 square by n 2. Now, we rely on central limit theorem. So, we will create a variable which is our, what is our random variable here? X 1 bar minus x 2 bar, that is my random variable, minus its mean value, expected value or mean value x 1 bar minus x 2 bar by square root of its variance sigma square x 1 bar minus x 2 bar. What will be the distribution of this? Hello?
This should go to the
normal distribution. When you either you know the population standard deviations, both the population standard deviation is known, they are coming from normal population, both the standard deviations are known, or standard deviation not known, but sample size is large. In that case, it will be Z. It will be Z. So, that means what will happen? Now, you write like this. If you write like this, x 1 bar minus x 2 bar, mu is basically mu value is mu 1 minus mu 2, we have proved this, and the variance component is sigma 1 square by n 1 plus sigma 2 square by n 2. You have seen this one. We have also seen earlier, I told you that minus z alpha by 2 less than equal to z less than equal to plus z alpha by 2, that probability is 1 minus alpha, correct. Now, here z is this value only. Only thing is that your z value, as your random variable changes, your z value also, the resultant expression for the z value changes. So, what will happen now? Then I can write like this, z alpha by 2, correct. So, can you not find out the interval for mu 1 minus mu 2? Very easily you can find out. Your ultimate interval will be x 1 bar minus x 2 bar instead of x bar. Earlier you have seen x bar is replaced by x 1 bar minus x 2 bar, then minus z alpha by 2, correct, into what is there, the variance component standard deviation was there for this. So, sigma 1 square by n 1 plus sigma 2 square by n 2 less than equal to mu 1 minus mu 2 less than equal to x 1 bar minus x 2 bar plus z alpha by 2 square root of sigma 1 square by n 1 sigma 2 square by n 2. Any problem here? I am sure that there is no problem for you. See that there is similarity with the x bar also. Only thing what you require to know sigma 1, sigma 2, n 1, n 2, and you must know that they are coming from normal population, and then no problem, whatever may be the n value, n 1, n 2 value, it will z is followed. You have to understand whether it will be z or t. So, this quantity, when this quantity will follow t distribution, this one, this will also follow t distribution, provided sigma 1 and sigma 2 are not known, sample size is small, but coming both the sample are normal sample, populations are normal. If it is non-normal, what will happen? Non-normal population means standard deviations are not known, sample size is small, you cannot do parametric distribution. Okay. Now, see one again you come, you see here the for normal population, this is applicable for normal population with known sigma 1, sigma 2, for non-normal population with known sigma 1, sigma 2 bar large sample size. Both cases this one is applicable. This is one example, evaluation of teaching methods. There is I think a considerable talk going on that which method is better, chalk and talk or PPT and talk. Okay. Some teachers follow first one, some teachers follow second one. Let one hypothetical experiment was conducted, 30 students were asked, asked in the sense they are gone through these two different types of, for the same subject, for the same teacher, let it be, when we have make as it unbiased as much as possible. Then we found out that average marks obtained is 80 for first one, second one 70 with standard deviation 5 and 10. These are our population standard deviation. Please keep in mind this is a hypothetical one, and population standard deviation, all those things I am putting the value. There is no true value for this. Then my question is develop 95% confidence interval for the mean difference of the two teaching methods. So, which distribution you will use here? What is your random variable? Random variable is the difference between mean for method A and method B, x1 bar minus x2 bar, and we are interested to know that the what is the interval for the population mean difference mu 1 minus mu 2, and your sigma 1 is 5, sigma 2 is 10. So, everything is given here. Now, what you are doing? You are putting the formula what we have developed earlier, and that formula, and you are finding out 6 less than equal to mu 1 minus mu 2 less than equal to 14. That means, from performance point of view, if you go by point estimate, then the difference in the average mark is 10, 80 minus 70, 10, and here your interval is 6 to 14, and it may be for the 95% confidence, it may be as low as 6, as high as 14. So, that is one example, and your calculation point of view, this is the case. Any question from your side? For what?
There are two, one PPT and chalk.
Here, okay, which one is best method? But if we go by the difference, chalk and talk is given more that value, no? Average value is 80 and this, okay. Actually, here it is definitely chalk and talk, the result is saying that chalk and talk is better, and it is better in the sense that the average marks obtained by the student can be as high from 6 to 14. Standard deviation is also low, that is another big issue. The reason is when you actually standard deviation is low, the reason is very simple. Because when you use chalk and talk, you derive everything, attention of the students will be on the board. But when there is PPT, some students say okay, PPT is there, that is what is happening in our case. PPT is there, I may get the PPT, somebody may not get, the teacher may not get that much involved, because PPT is there is always like this. So, standard deviation is, that is why intentionally I kept low under the first one, because I also assume that first case standard deviation will be low. Mean I am not 100% sure, but standard deviation will be low. But again, it all depend on the person who is teaching and what way he will making the things interesting. Okay. So, that is why the question as I have asked that which method is better. So, if I go follow that these two methods, then suppose this all are normally distributed, this one, and suppose this is your method A, and then the second method may be like this, your method B. Okay. Here the mean value is 70, here the mean value is 80. So, I should have drawn reverse way. So, what is happening if I go by this value, that means for method B 70, this is the x bar, and for method A it is 80. In addition, what you are getting? In addition, you are getting that your the distribution is like this. This is for method A, and this one is method B. Getting me? This mean value will be like this here. So, very easily you can see that method A is better from both the counts, from mean point of view, from standard deviation point of view. But okay, it is $1 million question, because it has not, it is a hypothetical example, and if we cross check with students' performance as well as students' feedback, it is possible to find out. Can you find out one example from your side that where you will be going for such statistics is required to be used to different populations? Okay. For example, your agricultural sector, you say suppose there are two different types of land you take from the soil condition point of view, condition A versus condition B. Then that growth of crop, okay, and keep every other thing simple standard. The crop growth is the response, that is what is x here. Then find out basically what is the growth rate, and in the soil type A and soil type B. And then if you know the standard deviation, you can use this formula, and definitely you have to collect large number of large sample size, and if you do not know this, you go for your sample standard deviation, and if your sample size is less, go for t distribution. Other one could be your not all that, suppose two different tractors, that their yield per point of view means per hour what is the hectare they can that tractor can plow. There you can use also. I think your side, can you cite one example?
Yes, sir. In my own work,
Tell me one example.
actually, I am working on texture recognition, and actually for anisotropic texture, we found principal texture detection in two techniques.
Okay.
So we can compare two techniques.
The performance of the two techniques means how good they are able to classify or identify the texture. Good. So, enormous use, many uses are there, and you will be finding whatever you are now. What is happening? These are all univariate. Please keep in mind, these are all univariate things we are talking about. Ultimately, it will be going to the multivariate side. Same thing. Two populations are characterized by multiple variables. Then again the same type of interval you have to compute. So, it will be computationally more complex. Okay. Slowly we will say. Then next class we will continue again the same thing. I think the ratio of two population variances we will start, then hypothesis testing will continue. Okay, thank you.